Hello and welcome again to How an Airstream Works. In this episode we're going to be talking about how waste tanks work. You'd think waste tanks are pretty simple, but there's actually a little bit of stuff going on with them. Anytime you have water running, it goes somewhere. Let's see if we can trace that. The water comes down the sink through this pipe and then it magically disappears and you never have to worry about it again. Actually, that's not how it works. There are several wastewater tanks in your trailer. Let's talk about the gross one first. That's the black tank. That is the one that holds your pee and your poop. So, when I flush the toilet, first I'll fill it up. Then I flush the toilet. That water goes into a holding tank. It's just a big tank meant for wastewater. In fact, it's right underneath here. That's why this is square-shaped. The toilet sits directly on top of that tank. So poop and water and pee go into that, and then we dump that in the sewer, and I'll show you more about that later. For the most part, every other water source, your shower, your sink, and your kitchen sink, these all drain to the gray tank. Gray water refers to food waste, soapy water, residue from your shower and all that, and it goes in a separate holding tank. Now you've got to keep an eye out for these things because these tanks fill up. It's not uncommon to hear of someone taking a shower for a long time and having the water start filling up inside the shower tub. That means their gray tank is so full it's backed up and coming up and out of the drain in the shower, and that's pretty gross. And gray water doesn't smell much better than black water. Because of that, we have tank monitor systems. These will tell us how full our tanks are so we can know if it's about time to take the Airstream somewhere to get the tank dumped. So let's take a look. Our gray water's looking pretty good and our black water's pretty good, but we're still going to take a look. Here's our gray water. This monitor is telling us that gray water is only a fourth full. That helps me know how long I can run the water for dishes, how long of a shower I can take, that sort of thing. When you're thinking about which RV to get, you want the biggest tanks possible. Big tanks allow you to stay out longer. Now they also take up more room, so you have a little bit less living space with big tanks, and usually big tanks are only found on big trailers. So, you're going to have to find out what works best for you. In this trailer, our 23D, our biggest limitation is the black tank. And the black tank is 20 gallons. And Tess and I can make it a week without having to dump. If a single person were in here, they could make it 2 weeks, which is about as long as we ever stay in one place. Now, one cool thing about some of these models, it's not every Airstream that has these, but a lot of Airstreams, especially the tricked out ones with all the options, have an external shower. So if I take a shower out here, there's no tank. It's going on the ground and I'm not filling up a gray tank. So that's a really huge plus to having an exterior shower. Over here is the dump valve. Now we've all seen millions of videos about this, and I'm not hooked up to a sewer, so I'm not going to show you how to actually dump it, but I'll walk you through it. Wastewater holding tank, sewage holding tank. The black line, this comes right out of the toilet. So the toilet goes into that tank, right into here. So black waste is the nastiest, and we want to get rid of that first. So we hook on our sewer hose, pull the handle, and evacuate that whole black tank. And then some nicer RVs have this feature right here, a sewer flush. What this is, it's a rotating sprinkler inside the black tank. So I'll hook a pressurized hose up to this and turn it on, and you'll actually hear it spraying around in there. That gets extra toilet paper, debris, yucky stuff off the tank and cleans it out. And you'll actually see a lot of these hoses that we recommend have a clear elbow in them so you can see the color of the water coming out. And we will just run that sprinkler until the water's clear. Now remember, you must leave this open. You're pumping water into your black tank. If you leave this closed and pump water into your black tank, what's going to happen? The black tank's going to fill up. And if you walk away and don't do anything, it's going to keep filling and actually come out the toilet. And now you're flooding your beautiful trailer with black water. Or at least gross water that was in the black tank. It's really gross, so always make sure you leave this open when you're flushing with the sewer flush. Now that we have fresh, clean water coming out of there, it's time to chase that with our gross gray water. And this is cleaner. It's food particles, it's your shower runoff and soap and washing your hands and your toothpaste and all that. Then you'll pull that and it will evacuate that tube and go away. There's no gray water flushing system. And we really haven't seen a need for that because there's not paper and really gross stuff in there. It drains pretty well. But because you don't have a disposal like a house, you can't just like scrape off your whole plate and shove it down the sink and hope it magically disappears. It doesn't magically disappear. It goes into one of your tanks, which you can see down here, and it has to come out through a pipe. So avoid putting big food particles down there. In the 50s and 60s, when Airstreams were really gaining popularity, they didn't even have gray tanks. Back then, all the sinks just drained straight to the ground. We are a little more environmentally conscious these days, and I don't want to pull up to a campsite that's got somebody's food particles or shower water all over my site when I pull in, so we've started capturing our gray water. Unfortunately, in the RV community, a lot of times we see people dumping their gray water at their campsites. I tend to frown on this unless you are using 100% biodegradable stuff that's not going to harm the environment. But even then, there's food particles in there, there's soaps, there's dyes, stuff like that. And when you're dumping it into the wild, sure, it probably doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2 or 3 people. But if there's someone in that spot every single night dumping that, that adds up. And I've pulled into sites before that just reeked. You could smell the last person's gray water around, and it was a really unpleasant experience. The same goes for composting toilets. I'm not even going to touch those today, but all I'm going to say is a composting toilet does not magically turn your poop into dirt in a week. It just doesn't happen. Please never dump your composting toilet at a campsite. Dogs will get in it, other animals will get in it, kids may get in it, and it still has the potential for biohazardous material in there. For more information on that, read the entire Human Manure Handbook. Fantastic read. I'm a big fan of composting human manure in general, but I'm not a fan of dumping it at your campsite pretending it's dirt, because it's not. The germs are still in there. They don't just magically disappear in 6 days because they've been mixed with coconut coir. And some people are going to say, well, you could get a composting toilet and just join these 2 tanks and get a double-sized gray tank. On some models that's possible. On this model, it's not. These don't flow well together. The black tank sits all the way up here. So even if I did join them, I would have to completely fill the gray tank with water before it would even start transferring to the black tank, because the black tank sits so much higher. That's why we didn't run a composting toilet in here. And because we actually have no problem dumping the regular valves. These are just fine. It's not a gross process. Put gloves on, learn how to do it, and it's easy to dump your sewer. So, holding tanks are really important to understand, especially if you're running off of city water and you're taking a long shower. You're going to be filling up your tanks. And when your tanks fill up, that means you need to dump them soon. If you're at a full hookup campsite, that's great. Just leave your gray valve all the way open. You can take a shower for hours and hours and hours, but you're still going to have to keep an eye on that black tank level. All right, here's a bonus tip that's super helpful. In 3 years of traveling full-time, we have discovered a tank treatment that works super well. We're not sponsored by them. We don't make any money by you buying this product. We're just sharing our great knowledge with you. It's called Tank Tech RX, and what it is an enzyme treatment. You put it in your toilet, and there's actually all these little enzymes eating away all the bacteria in there, and they keep reproducing. And we have never found anything that comes even close to keeping odors down, keeping stains down. It does such a good job doing that. So, I'll put a link in the description below, but Tank Tech RX is our favorite. It's even green, and it's not bad for the environment, and it's such a cool solution, letting nature eat all that junk in there instead of pouring really harsh chemicals in there. People kind of make a big deal about tanks. It's not a big deal. You've got to put your wastewater somewhere, and you pull up to a station and dump it out there, and it's really a simple process. It's not a big deal. It probably feels like the grossest, biggest hurdle in the world before you've been RVing. It's not. People do it all the time. It's no grosser than unplugging a plugged toilet like you would at home, and we've all done that before. If you learned something from this video and you benefited and it will save you money down the road, consider supporting us on patreon.com. For $3 a month, you can make a big impact to us to help us be able to keep making more videos like this.